All right, so this was obviously law of sines, and eventually they will get blended in together, so it's important to pay attention to why we choose law of sines. It's because you're given certain kinds of information. In this piece of information, you're given two angles and the non-included side. So you're given angle, angle, side. If you don't see it, right, then go ahead and draw yourself a diagram. You're given A, you're given C, so this would be 28, this would be 51, and this would be 45. So if you need to see it drawn out, do it. Like, do whatever you need to do. Because when you use angle, angle, side, you know you're going to have to use law of sines. And then when you use angle, angle, side, there's no chance of a second triangle. You just straight up solve it the way that it is. So the one complete pair I have are the A's. So I would do A, which is 45, over the sine of A, which is 28, equals, the other one I have is C, C over sine of 51. Actually, let me write out here. I'm missing angle B, side B, and side C. Before you set up anything, you can actually do angle B, because I can do 180 minus these two. So 180 minus 28 minus 51, and I get 101 for angle B1. So I'm going to solve for C using both A's, because that's what I was given, and I'm also going to solve for B using both A's, because I know that that is accurate, and I know it's correct. So this would be B over sine of 101. So then for both of them, we're going to cross multiply and divide. 45 times the sine of 51 equals C times the sine of 28. Sorry. All right, and then I'm going to divide both sides by the sine of 28. And I get C equals 45, sine of 51, making sure I close my parentheses, divided by sine of 28. 74.49, and that's side C. And then I'm going to do the same thing with B. So B times the sine of 28 equals 45 times the sine of 101, and then divide both sides by sine of 28. So 45 sine of 101 divided by sine of 28. And B is 94.09. Questions on that one? All right, then comes 2. Oh, did I? On 2, this is your, on 2, you've got an angle and two sides, and it's the non-included side, or it's the non-included angle. So this is our SSA situation. We have to check for a second triangle. If you don't see it, because it's the letters really, if you have one of each letter, if you have one angle and then a repeated letter, that's your SSA. If you have one angle and then the other letters of the sides, that's side, angle, side, and that's law of cosines. So you can see it that way. Or you can draw yourself the picture and see it. It doesn't matter how you do it. So I'm going to list everything I'm missing. So I'm missing angle A, but I'm going to call it A1. I'm missing angle C1, and I'm missing side C1. And then I'm going to remind myself that there's a possibility of a second triangle. So I would do angle A2, angle C2, and C2. Then I set it up. So the one I have both letters of is B. 15 over the sine of 110 equals A, which is 28, over the sine of A. Cross multiply. 28 times the sine of 110 equals 15 times the sine of A. And then I divide both sides by 15. 28 sine of 110 divided by 15, and I end up with the sine of angle A being 1.75. Remember, sine can't be 1 or bigger than 1. So if you catch it already, I know this is no solution. If you don't catch it, then you have to sine negative 1, 1.75, and your calculator is going to catch it for you. It's going to give you an error, which means that there is no triangle. So there's not any, like not 1, not 2, nothing. There's no triangle that can be done, which is one of the situations that can happen with ambiguous case. Questions on that one? Okay, then this is the one we added in. So solve and round the answers to the nearest tenth. A is 70, side A is 5, and B is 52. Okay, this is again a 1 angle and 2 sides and the non-included one, so I know this is my special triangle. I added this for you so you know that there's 2 triangles, but obviously that wouldn't necessarily be the case. So angle B1 is what I'm missing, angle C1 and side C1, and then I'm going to do angle B2, angle C2, and side C2. The one I have both letters of is A. So I would do 5 over the sine of 70 equals B, which is 5.2, over the sine of B1. Cross multiply. And divide. And I'd end up with the sine of B1, 5.2, sine 70 divided by 5. 0.9772, and so on and so forth. Remember, you want to do second sign, second answer to pull that exact one back up so that you keep your answer as accurate as possible. So I would get second sign and then pull that answer up. And I'd get angle B1 is 77.76 degrees. Now you can continue to solve triangle 1, but for me, I tend to immediately remind myself that there's going to be that second triangle. So over here, I would do 180 minus 77.76. That gives you your B2. That's 102.24. So now I'm going to finish working out triangle 1. I still need angle C1 and I need side C1. Angle C1 is the last angle, so I can do 180 minus the 70 that you're given minus the 77.76. And I get 32.24. And then I use that with my A's to find side C. So A, which is 5 over the sine of 70, would equal side C over the sine of 32.24. And then we cross multiply. And divide. So 5 sine 32.24 divided by sine 70. And I get angle C1 or side C1 at 2.84. So I've got all of triangle triangle 1 complete. Now I got to go to B. So with B, I still use the information that's given from the beginning. And now I have B2, angle B2 is 102. So to find angle C2, I'm going to do 180 minus the 70 that I'm given minus the 102.24. 180 minus 70 minus 102.24, and I get 7.76. That is the point where you would determine if there's 1 or 2 triangles. If that 7.76 was negative, I'm done. There's only 1 triangle, but because that's positive, I know there's a second triangle, and I've got to continue on to find that last side. So yeah.
Could you also have just, solved it, like instead of doing 180 minus 70 minus 102, just, put it into an equation?
But you don't have either C.
Oh.
Yeah. You've got to find that last angle before you can find the side. So then I've got just side C, but I'm going to use the A's from my original one. So I would do A, which is 5, over the sine of 70 equals C2, which is what I'm missing, over the sine of 7.76. Cross multiply. and then divide. So 5 sine 7.76 divided by sine of 70. And I get C2 is 7.72. So it's small, but it makes sense in comparison to the other values. Remember, the largest angle is going to be opposite the largest side. And undo. Questions? So quiz for law, like as far as the law of sines parts goes, you're going to get 2 questions. One, angle, side, which is like your straight up no ambiguous case possibility. Second would be the angle, side, or side, angle, in which you're either going to get no solution, 1 solution, or 2 solutions, okay? You can't look at it and determine it. So you got to assume there's a second one until you prove yourself that it's negative, and then you know that's not there. All right, so let's finish what we started yesterday. This is the last thing in here is just like the word problems, which is application of your formulas, and then one more formula, which is area. To find the area of an oblique triangle. Oh, this is finding the area of a triangle if it's not a right triangle, right? We know either a right triangle is 1/2 base times height, or if we had the height of a triangle, we use 1/2 base times height. So what happens if you don't have the height? You can use these. They are repetitive, so it's the same pattern. It's 1/2 2 sides, the product of 2 sides, times the sine of the included angle. So notice there's 1 of each letter. So yes, you have to memorize this, but it's super easy, okay? It's any 2 letters times the sine of the third. So I could use this one if I'm given side BC and angle A. I can use this one if I'm given sides AB and the angle C. And I can use this one if I'm given AC and the angle B. So this would be for a side angle side scenario. That will look like this. Find the area of the given triangle. I have C and I have B and I have angle A. So I'm going to do 1/2 I'm going to do 1/2 BC sine of A. So 1/2 5 times 6 times the sine of 71. And then you let the calculator do the work. So I just type it in as 0.5 times 5 times 6 times the sine of 71. Sometimes these are 2 decimal places and sometimes they're 1, so just pay attention to the directions. I think on the homework it says what to do. If it gave you a unit, you would write it as unit squared. So if it was like centimeters, it'd be centimeters squared, inches squared because it's area. This time it doesn't say it. And on web assignment, I don't think you need the units. Easy stuff, right? All right, then we get word problems. So this one says 2 fire lookout towers are 17 miles apart with Tower A directly west of Tower B. So if you had to draw this out, A would be directly west of B, which means they'd be in a horizontal line. Both towers spot a fire on a mountain to the north, so we're going up for north. The bearing from station A to the fire is north 55 degrees east. So remember, did we do bearings yet? No. Bearings have 3 parts to them. The first is north, south. The last is east, west, and the middle is the actual angle. The north-south part tells you from wherever you're starting, do you move towards the north, which we usually make up, or do you move towards the south, which we usually make down? From that line, that vertical line that you're going to move on, the last part tells you, do you move east, which is right, west, which is left. So when it says for the bearing from station A to the fire, A is here, fire is here, I'm going north, which means up. So north is in this direction. And then I'm going east, which is right, this direction. And then it gives you the degrees of 55. It goes here. So the degrees go in between your y-axis and where you ended, not horizontal axis. Then it says the bearing from station B to the fire is north. So again, I'm moving up. West, which is now left, 40 degrees. So this is 40 degrees. How far to the nearest tenth of the mile is the fire from station A? So I want to know this side here, fire to station A would be side B. How do I do it? Go. Well, go ahead. Vicky had her hand up, sorry. Good. So I need to find the angles inside the triangles, right? Not outside. When we're doing law of sines and cosines, we don't use the ones on the outside. But these are both, our north-south line and our east-west line are both, they're perpendicular. So I can do 90 minus the 55, and I'd get 35 degrees for in here. And then I would do 90 minus the 40 degrees, and I'd get 50 degrees in here. Angle A is 35. Yep. Angle B is 50.
We would know it's a 90-degree angle because it says they're directly.
Because it says that it's directly west, that's my horizontal line. And then because I'm using bearings, I went north-south, and that's going to be perpendicular. So in order to do law of sines, I obviously need B. I have angle B, right? So I have B over the sine of 50. But I need a complete ratio on the other side. Do I have both side and angle of any of those yet? No. Can I find one?
Yeah, you can find C.
How?
By doing 55 plus 35, and then do that minus 180 minus that.
Minus 50 minus 35, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, minus the two that are inside your triangle. So that's 180 minus 85, or 95 degrees. Now I have both for C. So 17 over the sine of 95. And then we cross multiply. And divide. And I get 13.07. It says nearest tenth, so it's 13.1 miles. Questions on that one? Yeah? All right, this one says the surveyor already found two angle measures and the distance between those measurements on the opposite side of the river. Find the length across the river from point A to point B. So this time the angles are already on your diagram. Sometimes there are easy diagrams like this, and then sometimes you got to draw it. If I'm trying to find the river from point A to point B, I'm looking for this side, which would be named C. I have angle C, but I don't have another complete ratio yet. How do I find it? Good. So 180 minus 58 minus 69, which is 53 degrees. And I get 500 over the sine of 53 degrees. Cross multiply. And divide. So side C is 584. This time it doesn't tell me, so I'm going to round it to 2 decimal places. 0.48 feet. Questions on either of those? So again, sometimes you're going to get diagrams, sometimes you won't. And the word problems are going to start to loop together into law of cosines word problems as well. So tomorrow when we do law of cosines, you're going to realize we do those for side, 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 and side angle side. So you would look at what you're given to figure out what you can use. All right, the homework with the degree minute second notation. I'm going to just make something up really fast. Let's say angle A. No. I don't remember what they were. Was it 2 angles? Yeah, it was 2 angles. No, it wasn't. Can you tell me if it was 2 angles and a side or 2 sides and an angle?
2 angles.
2 angles, okay. Were they both in degree minute second notation? They were, okay.
There was one where you had to turn the opposite. Like you had to turn the decimal into
Yeah, that's this one. So when it wants C, let's say, right, I have to do 180. So that's why I left the ugly view in here. So I'm going to actually type that in. All right, so to find C, I'm going to do 180 minus the other 2. So I would do 180 minus, it's 45 second apps is where that menu is. I go to the degrees, 15 second apps, go to the single tick mark, minus 32 degrees, 20 minutes, and hit enter. And it gives it to you in decimal degree, right? So to get it back into degree minute second notation, I leave that answer, I go second, apps, and I go to the 4th thing in the line, arrow DMS. And it puts it back into degree minute second notation for me. So this would be 102.25.
on website. You put in the answer as the decimal or as
You put in, it gives you it like blank degrees, blank minutes. So it'd be 102.25, like that. And then when you're using these, like if you're using these to answer your questions, if you set that up, you can do, like I could do 22 over the sine of 45 degrees, 15 minutes, and type it in like that. Or, so it would be B over 30, sine of 32.
Is it gonna be like that?
You're going to get something in degree minute second notation. It could be, like you might see it, I actually think it might be happened twice between all the triangles. It could be in your word problem. It could be in your area. But you're definitely going to get at least one that has degree minute second notation. So you can leave it, like when you're actually typing it in the calculator, you can type it in each time with the degree minute second notation. Or you can convert it to decimal degree only if it would terminate. So like this is 45.25. If it terminates like that, then you can use it in decimal as you're doing your work. Does that make sense? But if it doesn't, you got to keep it in that, like to keep it accurate, you got to keep it in that mode every time you type it in. Sure. Any other questions that came up on the homework or anything like that from last night? Okay, again, remember it's due tomorrow. It is not only the WebAssign questions, right? There were 6 there, but it is also the PDF because for a reason, the WebAssign didn't give you a 2 triangle opportunity. You definitely need to practice it. So you want to make sure you do both, and then you'll submit both in one note, please, like the work from the PDF and the work from the WebAssign with the score all together.